Hey everyone, it's Simone Watson, and today is Top 5 Wednesday. This is hosted by Samantha from Thoughts on Tome, so I will link her channel in the description, and I will link the Goodreads group where you can see the topics if you want to participate too. So this week's topic is series where the second book is the best, and this was a really hard topic for me just because I don't read a lot of series. There are series that are on my TBR and I haven't gotten to yet, but I haven't read a lot of series in the last few years. So um, I'm kind of cheating on this topic by interpreting second to mean anything that's in the middle, right? So if there are four, it could be the third one. You know what I mean? Um, but I'm also interpreting it to mean second if there are only two. So I'm just gonna, yeah, just I think that's kind of reasonable because when else will we talk about the third or four books, right? So, or books or anything. Also, only one of these is a book anyway. So, yeah, let's just get into it. First, I'm going to talk about Unwind by Neil Shusterman. Now, I'm going to try not to do this whole, oh, I talk about Neil Shusterman a lot disclaimer because, yes, I've done that disclaimer before, but this one is just, it's very relevant to the topic and specific to the situation. It's just something that I want to talk about. So, hey. Unwind, the first book, came out in 2007. It was a standalone for a long time. Then it was announced that there would be a sequel. Then it was announced, oh no, there are going to be three books. Oh no, actually, there are going to be four books. So book two came out in October of 2012. Um, and I felt like book two, Unholy, was better than Unwind. There were some things about it that annoyed me or that were worse than Unwind to me. Just some things like the way characters were figuring things out, I felt was less satisfying in this one because it was hard to like see the logic and things. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain in this shorter video, but the point is overall I felt like Unholy was better than Unwind. It was more enjoyable. Now book 3, Unsouled, came out a year after Unholy. And I read it and I was like, what? Okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad book. But the pace that had been set in Unwind and Unholy, where things were like moving, like, okay, in Unwind, there were parts where people had to wait for stuff. Stuff wasn't moving quickly because our characters had agency, but maybe not as much agency as they wanted, okay? But in Unholy, things came to happen on a larger scale, and our characters were always doing something. Things were moving, the plot was progressing. In Unsouled, it felt to me like things were happening slowly. Um, there were long periods of time where we were just waiting for, like, characters were just waiting for stuff. They weren't really doing anything. Like, they weren't really having as much agency as I wanted them to have. Some of the questions that were raised in Unholy and felt like they were questions that needed to be answered soon were put off to book 4. So you have this whole book 3 where these questions are not being answered still, and it was like, I don't know. And there was even more of the characters figuring things out that didn't really, to me as a reader, I couldn't follow the logic. There was like even more of that, like, oh, you're blah blah blah, aren't you? It was like, how did you figure that out? So it feels a little bit unsatisfying because this character has to tell us in order for us to get it. You know, so there were just a lot of things, and I could talk more in depth about that series, but it's tough. Book 4, I need to reread book 4 because I didn't even really finish book 4. I'm sorry, and it was just because I didn't want it to end. But then there was a book of short stories after that too, so I'm gonna start over and reread book 4. I may reread the whole thing at some point, and then I don't know. I can just do a comprehensive review of the whole series. But there we go. That's the Unwind histology. Next I want to talk about 21 and 22 Jump Street, the films. Um, I think a comedy movie sequel is really hard to do because film has a very specific structure of like how the stories are told. And so sometimes when people take the same characters, put them in a structure, give them some jokes, it can end up either looking exactly like the original, but you know, not as good because it's like we already saw this, or it can end up looking like like worse, you know, because it's like, I don't know. That's a whole different thing that I could talk about. But the point is, 22 Jump Street, I think, did a great job. They took the same characters, let them use their same strengths in like a different way. They explored a new story with the same like scenario. They gave us new characters that were also really funny. And a character that was already there, Ice Cube, Ice Cube's character, I forgot his name in the movie, he appeared more in 22 Jump Street, and I thought he was hilarious. He just stole the show in like a specific scene that was just hilarious. So yeah, I loved it. I loved 22 Jump Street, and yeah, I felt like it was better than 21 Jump Street. Again, like I said, most of these are not books because well, yeah. Next, Sister Act. Sister Act and Sister Act 2. So Sister Act is a movie from the 80s that stars Whoopi Goldberg as a woman who goes into hiding as a nun because her boyfriend is trying to kill her. And I thought it was a great movie. We owned it on VHS when I was a kid. It was great. You know, she started a choir with the nun. I mean, the nuns had a choir, but she went and like revitalized their choir, had them singing more what we would call like contemporary Christian music. So anyway, she did that. And then in the second movie, she goes back to the same convent and it's been turned into a school. And she's seeing that this school is like, you know, run down, close to getting shut down. And she starts a choir with the young people to save the school. So I love this because they took the same character, had her use her same strengths. Again, yeah, her same strengths, but in a totally different context. And I felt that it worked really well. It was funny and it was, you know, interesting, dramatic, etc. Next we have One Tree Hill, the TV show. So this is one where I'm not talking about the actual second season of the show. I'm just talking about like the middle. I felt like the beginning of One Tree Hill was good, but it was like the characters, it was like they were trying too hard to sell us who the characters were supposed to be, particularly like the first few episodes, and it may have like changed, but like, for example, Brooke, who's one of the main 5 characters, they really tried to sell her as this like popular, like promiscuous, you know, like girl that liked to drink and party and whatever. And those were like the only things about her that they wanted to sell to us at the beginning. And there's so much more to her than that. Like, yes, those things are true, but there's so much more to her than that. They also tried to sell us some Lucas and Peyton thing. I never really was a huge fan of Lucas and Peyton from season 1 to season 6 to whenever. I mean, they're okay. Like, I don't dislike them, but I did feel like that was something that was really, really sold to us really hard. But the point is, toward the middle, it was good. You got to see the characters grow. You got to see like more facets of their personalities. You got to see in like season 5. Oh yeah, Jamie, who's Haley and Nathan's son, who's little. Oh my gosh, he just added the cuteness factor to season 5, and they really, you know, the TV writers really worked with that. So that was cool, and that was One Tree Hill. And finally, Degrassi. I don't even. What is there even to say about Degrassi? Like, okay, Degrassi. What I'm talking about is Degrassi: The Next Generation, which later got changed to Degrassi. It started in like 01. I started watching it in 04 when I was 9 or something, which is like, that's kind of young to be watching that, but and I would watch it with my sister. You know, we bonded over it and whatever. It was really, I mean, yeah, it was really cool. What can I say about Degrassi? Like, the earlier seasons were okay, but it was good to get to the middle where they got to deal with really serious topics, particularly season 4. They got to deal with some really serious stuff. I guess I shouldn't spoil it for you guys, but there was one really important thing that happened that changed a main character's life a lot that maybe I shouldn't spoil. Jimmy, Jimmy, the thing that happened to Jimmy. So, it was good that we got a chance to explore these like really difficult topics in season 4 and then 5 and 6. But another really big thing happened in season 6 to a main character, and it was a really sad thing that happened. And I kind of feel like after that, the show had a hard time staying at the level of quality it was trying to be at. Which was okay. Like, some characters had to leave pretty soon after that anyway because they were, they were going to graduate. They couldn't stay in high school forever. But, season 7, 8, it was still pretty good, I guess. 7, 8, 9. It was still pretty good. But I did feel like after a while, I got like I wasn't really interested, or like I just didn't want to watch it that much anymore. Season 10 or so, I was like, no, no, no. So, yeah, there we go. Those are my 5. I cannot believe that took me 11 minutes. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to tell me about your things, series that were the best in the middle or in the second book, movie, etc., let me know in the comments. Yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.